I will exit stage right, but I want to introduce to you now Gina Langley. She is the Associate Director for Development for Pasa Sustainable Agriculture. She has held pivotal roles in state government with the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and statewide nonprofit organizations. She has dedicated her career to stimulating economic development by strengthening the industries that support our communities. In her role at Pasa, Gina fosters meaningful relationships, stewards the contributed funds, and secures resources for critical programs that empower farmers and administrators engaged in the vital and climate conscious work that they do. Her commitment to sustainable agriculture is driven by a passion for supporting those farmers who implement transformative practices to protect our planet. And with that, I give you Gina Langley.
Thank you, Commissioner. Introduction. Again, my name is Gina Langley. As was mentioned, I work in Pasa Sustainable Agriculture. This presentation is really about dollars and cents of the future, right? Sustainable agriculture is something that we need for the future. I work for Pasa, we're a nonprofit that supports sustainable farmers and equitable food systems, farmer-driven education and research, and also offers community to our farmers as well. I'm going to tell you why I started working at Pasa. Let's get started. I am a mother of two. My son is autistic. My daughter actually has epilepsy. And like many parents, I was really concerned about the health and welfare of my children. And I actually really thought about the food, what they were taking into their bodies, also what I was taking into my body. So I started to really pay attention to local foods, organic foods. I got to know farmers in my area, and then I really wanted to uplift them because a lot of farmers, very humble, but the reality is they are taking care of us in an amazing way. So I cared a lot about the soil, the environment, how the food was produced, and at the end of the day, I'm an entrepreneur at heart. I did a lot of work with small, minority, and veteran-owned businesses when I worked for state government. And reality is farmers are the biggest entrepreneurs, right? You're an entrepreneur at the very beginning. So that's kind of how I started. But the roots in Pasa really were sustainable agriculture. A number of farmers got together and they wanted to share some resources. They wanted to figure out how they could steward the land in a better manner. This happened in 1991. And actually, when I saw the date, I was like, oh, that wasn't a long time ago. That was over 30 years ago. And they understood they were starting to, they understood that agriculture disrupts the land to some extent. So how could we do things better so that we're preserving the land for the future? So they all kind of came together and formed a conference. The conference was actually the start of the organization. And that is actually one of our milestone events, and it carries on to this day. Our 34th annual conference will be happening in February. So, talked a little bit about who we are, why I'm involved. The question really is, what is sustainable agriculture? Well, sustainable agricultural practices, according to the USDA, are intended to protect the environment, expand the Earth's natural resources, and maintain and improve soil fertility. And these things are going to help increase profitable farm income, promote environmental stewardship, enhance the quality of life for our farmers and our communities, and also increase production for human food and fiber needs. So sustainable agriculture is not just about locally or your local farmer. It actually hits so many different areas. So I first want to talk about the planet. So sustainable agriculture is crucial for the planet. So number one, it protects our air and water quality. That's really important, actually. There we go. That's really important. We know that you need clean air and good water to produce good food. It also is essential for human health, food safety, and so sorry, I'm trying to get to other stuff. But anyway, so air and water is really important. It also affects agriculture productivity. So we talked about the economic impact in your own local communities, but really this is a global issue for productivity, tourism, and recreation. It also mitigates climate. And we talk a lot about climate and climate change, but when we implement sustainable practices, then we are also mitigating the climate. And we're going to talk a little bit about some case studies in regards to how that's helped some of the farms even here in Pennsylvania. And then soil health. Soil health is very important. In sustainable agriculture, we talk about nutrient density, what's in the soil so that it can benefit us in the long run, environmental sustainability and biodiversity, and also water regulation and filtration. So sustainable agriculture is also crucial to the Commonwealth. If you live in Pennsylvania and you drive across the state from Philadelphia to Pittsburgh, you see farmland, you see a lot of greenland, unlike a lot of states. So in 2023, Pennsylvania had an estimated 49,000 farms and 7.1 million acres of farmland. The average farm being 145 acres. Agriculture contributes to $1 out of every 16. Every dollar of direct output additional economic activity. In 2019, Pennsylvania's 81.5 agriculture sector supported 301,000 jobs. That's a lot. That's a lot in regards to agriculture. So it also supported $14.5 million in labor. So that means in the state of Pennsylvania, agriculture is important. So because it's important, we also have to make sure that we are supporting our farmers, we're supporting the land as much as possible. I wanted to talk a little bit about how it affects us locally. And Commissioner has actually talked about how your local economies are to you. I did a little bit of research, so there's 936 farms in Indiana County alone. 136 farms. And in your county, it is $100 million industry. So the question is, how are the farmers? Right? How are they benefiting? I actually wrote down some farms that I know from Indiana County. Lone Oak Farm, 8 Maple Farm, Uncle Henry's Farm. I think they're pretty popular. I also saw that 200 of the farms are tree farms. This is the Christmas tree capital of the world. So which is actually phenomenal because agriculture is so important. It helps to protect the land. But the question is, if you're going to support sustainable agriculture, it's also about supporting local food economies, small business development, local job creation, and reinvestment in local economy. I will say that even though that's how I'm going to say you guys, but even though Indiana County has a lot of farms, what's really important is how we support farmers. One of the ways we can do that in regards to sustainable agriculture is reducing input costs. Sustainable farming practices prioritize the methods of reducing impact on the land. This type of farming typically lowers input energy and labor costs. The only thing is implementing these programs is great at the end, right? In long term. However, to get started in sustainable agriculture, sometimes these farmers have to spend or invest a lot in order to. We want to be able to support them. The other thing about sustainable agriculture is the diversification of crops. When they diversify their crops, they have different things that they're able to sell through their CFAs. There's things that they're able to sell at markets, and even hopefully form relationships with local grocery stores and organizations. Also, sustainable agriculture helps to safeguard the health and wellness of our farmers. Because when a farmer is using things like pesticides, then that can harm them, their children. I actually love this picture. This gentleman's name is Teddy. He actually was on our staff. He owns a farm. You can see that his wife is there holding their small child, right? So the family is constantly around all the different chemicals on the farm. They also live on the farm. So if they're implementing sustainable practices, it's going to assist them and their health as well. And then last but not least, it increases the resilience against the impacts of climate change. And I'll talk a little bit about this case study here. This is actually one of our farmers, Roll Run Farmstead. And they went through the flood mitigation, program. They worked along with DCNR. They're also part of our soil health, benchmark study. So they implemented what's called a riparian buck. And actually, it's so frustrating. By the way, I'm not a farmer. I am the kind of person that's kind of talks about why we can support or how we can support investment farmers. And so I had to write down what a riparian buffer was, but I can't get to my notes. I don't know what
Yeah. Yeah, it's trees might have walked through, yeah.
Okay, so, see, I had a much better definition, it's really drawn out, no, but that is exactly what it is. Right here, I do know what its benefits are, is it helps water filtration and drain. So actually, if you see a picture of it online, you see the land, and then you also kind of see like a little dip, right, a little bit of valley. So the water, pulls down there, so you can see this is one of the floods, it was in 2015, they're in the Reading area. And actually what happened was they decided to implement some sustainable practices. They put in a riparian buck. They did some other things. And so the next time it flooded really, really bad in that area, there was so much damage around that farm. However, they escaped and they saw such a big benefit in regards to putting this in. But I will tell you, they've been in our program for over 5 years. It took some time. They had big ditches. They had to get some additional assistance, but they actually saw that it helped. So these sustainable practices can mitigate flood, which is really something that just what last week we had hurricanes. We've seen a lot of flooding. These things can assist in some way. So now, why is sustainable agriculture crucial to your community? Well, one, it builds more resilient food systems, it fortifies public health, and it uplifts equity in agriculture. So one of the other things is we're celebrating a lot of the indigenous practices, practices that were implemented before that really helped to preserve the ground at that time. Also, we're prioritizing historically underserved communities because sustainable agriculture is working with all farmers, any farm. So organizations dedicated to advancing sustainable agriculture are helping drive the change that will bring lasting benefits to our local, regional, and global economies and communities. One of the things that I think is interesting is how little sometimes a farmer can make. And so according to the 2022 Census of Agriculture report, 14 cents on the dollar is how much a farmer will bring back from a product that they may have sold. So we want to make sure that we support farmers so that they can support their local communities. But organizations like mine, at Pasa Sustainable Agriculture, we have DCNR, we have a lot of partners. We also have organizations like the Western Natural Conservancy. Anyone that's working with natural conservation, what they're doing right now is training the next generation of sustainable farmers. They're empowering farmer-led climate solutions. They're building a body of research into why sustainable agriculture actually works, advocating for just and equitable food systems, also connecting farmers to sustainable agricultural resources so that they can implement them, and also connecting farmers to other communities, to consumers, because we want to make sure our farmers are more viable than they are right now. So just a little bit about our work. I'm not going to spend too much time, but I will say it takes a village. Pasa is just one of many, many, many phenomenal organizations in this space. Each one has their own niche. Our niche is supporting farmers. We want to uplift farmers, but we also want to provide them with what they need. We also want to train new farmers. So we have farmer education. We do apprenticeship programs. We have TDA, VP, DGA. I'm going to break that down. So diversified vegetable pre-apprenticeship program, diversified vegetable and dairy grazing. We also have farm-based research, technical and financial resources. One of our newer programs is our agroforestry program. And then food systems, equity and resilience. And then there's advocating that goes on in our office as well. So to impact, and that's impactful and lasting change, the sustainable agriculture industry needs support from all areas of society. So as a consumer, right, as a government agency and official, and as a business, everyone has to support sustainable agriculture so we can support our farmers, so they can support the land, so we have land for the future. So some of the ways that you can support as a consumer, I'm actually gonna open this up to the audience, because I don't like to talk all the time. I mean, I do talk, not that much. So tell me, as a consumer, how can you support farmers or sustainable agriculture? Anybody? You can take one off the list, or you can tell me what you personally do.
Join CSA.
Yep, yes, join CSA. Did you guys hear that? Does everybody know what a CSA is? Right, so I know I have a CSA, and I don't know about you. I can't use half the vegetables I get in my CSA. But I appreciate it. The farm I actually go through their certified organic spiral path farm, and actually their food is also in Wegmans across the state. So join a CSA is really good. Anything else you can do to support farmers and sustainable agriculture as a consumer? Yes.
Talk to your friends and family, and the people you don't even agree with, especially the people you don't agree with.
Yes.
Tell them we don't like factory farms. When we get big floods, it washes that all the way downstream and poisons lots and lots. Okay, manure. Excuse me, manure.
Yes. I didn't expect that, but yes, you're correct. Talk to your friends and family. It's really good. I saw somebody over there.
I go to the farmer's market on Saturdays here.
Right, right. I love it. So we can support, and it is simple, but it also is very effective. This young woman right here mentioned something that I noticed when I was doing some research about Indiana County, and you all have waterways that drain down into different rivers. And I think it said that 60% are compromised. And so sustainable practices will assist us in regards to our waterways, those that are relevant to us locally, but also globally. Another way that you can do this is engage with sustainable agricultural policy. Talk to your local representatives, your officials, write to representatives. Also get to know your local farmers. I mentioned that there's 936 farms. So evidently there's a lot of farmers in the county to get to know your farmers. Now, how can you support sustainable agriculture as a government official or agency? Well, support policies that support farmers, invest in security, food security programs that benefit local producers and communities, fund programs like conserving natural resources, building soil health, and improving fund programs that strengthen local processing and local food chains and improve stable land tenure. So, as a business, businesses are essential to farms because they need support, whether it's healthcare or whether it is building a relationship. So try to establish long-term contracts or partnerships with sustainable farmers. Maybe it's a school where you can start to bring in fresh produce for school lunches. Innovate the solutions that will contribute to the success of sustainable agriculture, the sustainable agriculture industry. And also engage with eco-conscious consumers as demand for sustainable products continues to grow. And I made a note that it said 90% of millennials, which I'm not a millennial, but 90% of millennials will pay more for organic food. I don't know who did that study, but it was interesting. It was interesting to see that. Take steps to reduce your own carbon footprint and conserve natural resources. And I added this at the bottom. It says, by investing in initiatives that reduce food insecurity and malnutrition, businesses can improve their reputations as well as attract potential customers and investors who believe in the same values. Furthermore, businesses have the power to create positive change in the food supply chain and reduce their own carbon footprint. So businesses, consumers, government agencies, we all have a role to play. I will say I am all about the ROI because return on investment is probably the most important thing. People say, I don't want to invest. Why is it so important to me? Give me the dollars and cents why I should be involved. Well, to be real, financial health of the farm business means financial health for the local regional economy. Again, I keep focusing on the fact you have so many farms. How can you support them so they can support the work that you're doing? They are essential to economic development. But in regards to health, soil health, plant health, human health, public health, that means lower healthcare costs for us. is when our soil is taken care of, that means the output is gonna be so much better. I remember being at a meeting with UPMC, our organization, UPMC, we were talking about a tomato. We were talking about the nutrients in the tomato and how it could affect things like diabetes. It may not seem that serious, but it really is. Our soil health definitely contributes to our public health. Executing against your CSR strategy and embodying your corporate values. There are a lot of organizations who bought into saying they want to reduce the carbon footprint. They're interested in the environment. Supporting your farmers, your local farmers, that is your return on your investment, is getting to your corporate value goals. Increase customer satisfaction and stronger brand loyalty among eco-conscious consumers. You just said 90%, although I think that's really high. If millennials have a lot of buying power, if they realize that you're committed to something like this, they're gonna start to buy your products. They're gonna start to post you on social media, TikTok, Instagram. It all comes full circle. Another thing about returning on investment. Duplicates. All right. So anyway, investments in sustainable agriculture is an investment in public health, environmental health, and financial health. So I am going to open it up for questions, whether it's about sustainable agriculture or our organization. Does anybody have any questions? Hopefully, thank you. Hopefully I've set the stage for, oh, yes.
Sorry, can you repeat this big one, the amount of money that, when the farmer earned it, it would bring back to the community?
So there was, let me get back. Yeah, 14 cents.
Thank you.
14 cents on the dollar. And that is actually a USDA math report, that came out of. But I was gonna say, hopefully I set the stage because, when County Commissioner has, started her conversation, I actually was very impressed with the fact that in this county, you started to think about sustainability, you started to think about your future. And the reality is sustainable agriculture definitely does affect the future of all of us, our children. I know personally, I think about it all the time, is will the planet be ready? Will the planet be ready for the future? And if we continue to destroy the land, it won't be. So oftentimes people will say, well, agriculture is so disruptive. Sustainable agriculture is the answer to that. It's the answer, it's the antidote, so that we make sure that we're not disrupting the land. And we're also stewarding it in a way that's going to be beneficial, more beneficial for the future. So again, thank you very much.